Halo, selamat siang semua attendants yang sudah masuk. Welcome everyone who has joined the webinar for today. So for this session, we'll be having an English session. So I'll try as much to use English as possible, but anyone who have any questions, please feel comfortable to share your question either in Bahasa Indonesia or in English in our Q&A box or in our chat box throughout the event. So I think we will wait for a couple more minutes. Hi, Alex. We will wait for a couple more minutes until everyone is joining.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, hi, Alex. Okay. So I think one of our panelists is already here, but we will start at 1:30. We still have some people that we are waiting to join the call, not the call, the webinar. So let's just wait a couple more minutes for them. Yes, okay, Mas Jaswin. So the session will start at 1:30 for the discussion, but at 1:15 we'll be having a brief explanation about how the event will be going. So you are free to have your lunch, or you can have your lunch during the session also. No worries. And yes, of course, feel free to ask your questions during the session anytime. We'll be answering your questions at the end of the discussion session. We'll have 20 minutes of Q&A. So our panelists will be answering all of your questions. Lunchtime in Bali is over. Oh no, 1 hour ago, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. So maybe all the attendees here can share where they are coming from. Is there anyone here who is doing a remote working? Because today we're going to talk about remote working, how to be an effective team, even though you do the remote working environment. So is anybody here who has attended is has a company that is doing the remote working or hybrid working at all? So us at Astronaut, we do mostly remote working for the Jakarta and also Jogja and Bali team. But for our Bandung team, which is mostly our IT team, they are doing hybrid working. So we are very familiar with how the remote working is doing. And I think we have a great panelist lineup today that will be sharing and have already experienced the remote working on their companies. So yeah, I just chat everyone. So is anyone here already implement remote working in their company? And if you do, can you please share with us your experience? Is it like a good experience? What are the challenges and what are the fun thing when doing the remote working? So everyone here can share before we start the event and learn from our panelists.
Okay, I can break the ice, though I'm one of the panelists. I guess I'll just
Yeah, sure.
try to stick to a very short form of it, because
Oh.
the good stuff will be later, right, in the panel discussion.
Yes,
But just
yes,
very
that's
briefly,
true.
yes, we at Livit, the company that I'm working for, we were a remote native company since the very beginning, I guess. And one of our co-founders were working remotely since 2009, where he started the company. And from there, I think that remote work came kind of like a second nature to some extent, but then we became more intentional with remote work during the pandemic, actually, because then exactly we're all forced to actually be fully remote. So I think that even though our implementation of remote work started as something very organic almost, I think that in the last 4 years now, we finish this implementation by making it more intentional. So actually thinking about processes, tools, systems, team behavior, rituals, like actually taking remote work in a very systematic way almost, and being extremely intentional with it. So I guess because of that, I think that we were actually doing a pretty good job at having a good and healthy remote work culture. And with that, I will leave the rest for later on in
our
the
discussion.
Yes.
Yes, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's very important here to everyone to note that there is actually a formula, kind of a formula, right, Alex and Jana, of how a good remote working can be implemented. Because yes, it can be done like organically, but to making sure that it's done more effectively, to have a more productive team using the remote working in a remote working environment, there should be like a formula or an intentional way of doing that, right? So it's very exciting. We'll be going into that further in our discussion session. So maybe since more people are here, Satrio, can you share the presentation file that I just shared with you earlier to let everyone know what we'll be focusing on this event? So yes, welcome again to everyone that has been joining this event. Today, we will have a webinar with the topic of building a remote dream team. So we'll learn about the recruiting, assessing, and the culture fit candidates in the virtual world. So this is the speaker lineup. I think all the speakers are already here, including our moderator, Nigel, our CEO. Hi, Nigel. Okay, and the agenda for this event, we have start opening the waiting room since 1, and then at 1:30 we'll be having an opening remarks, and Nigel will introduce also to all the panelists that's been joining the event today. And then we will also have a discussion on the topics at 1:40, sorry, for 40 minutes. And then we will be taking your Q&A for 20 minutes. So everyone, please feel free to ask your questions. If you have any questions, put them on the Q&A box or the chat box. It will be really interesting to understand how you're doing it now after you learn from our panelists. Okay, maybe next. So these are the things that you can expect from the discussion. First, we will learn about the unique challenges and also opportunity of a remote and hybrid working culture. And then we can also learn from our panelists how we can build a highly effective and also productive remote working team, starting from what are the important values and traits that your company needs to have, that your employee needs to have, which starts from the recruitment, how you do the recruitment and also selections of your employees. And then how you do the onboarding of these employees to make sure that they can keep the same energy as the rest of the company to have a good, effective, and productive remote working culture. And lastly, the panelists will also share with you the tools and technologies that they have been using to support their remote working environment for the team, the whole team, starting from the recruitment and selections, and then how they do it, how they do the remote working on a day-to-day basis. Okay, next. So if you are also interested in astronaut, there's a little bit of an advertisement for astronaut here. So if you are interested to know more about astronaut, you can actually create your free account with us. You can go to www.astronaut.co and you can get a free account with us. And then you can also join a discovery call or contact by going through this link. I'll share the link with you on our chat box later, or you can contact our business development representative in the following email address and number, which is actually myself. So you can be contacting me, or you can also do an onboarding session with our customer success account manager through the following link. I will also share with you the onboarding session link on our chat box. So yeah, I hope that this session will be giving you more inspiration and ideas of how you can do better in doing your remote working cultures and building your remote working cultures and environment for your companies. Okay, I think we still have a couple more minutes before we can start the session. Hold on. Hi, Mas Delta. Oh, Mas Delta is gone.
Oh,
Hi, Mas Delta. So, Mas Delta, you are in Jogja, right?
no, I'm currently in Jakarta.
Oh, currently in Jakarta.
I'll
Okay,
be,
cool,
I'll be
cool.
flying back. I'll be flying back tonight.
Okay, sure, sure. All right. So, yes. Okay, Mas Doni, another one of our panelists is joining also right now.
Halo, halo.
Hi, Mas Doni. How are you, Mas?
Bentar. Nah, ini nggak bisa start video ya. Ntar deh, gue
Oh,
live dulu.
okay. Sure. Okay, while we're waiting for all the panelists to get ready, including with their video, anyone who wants to share their experience doing the remote working, please do share them on the chat box. I think it will be interested to understand how you're doing it now. And just share your experience along with other colleagues here who's been joining the webinar as well. So okay, I think all of our panelists are already here now. Let me see for a second. Okay, somebody's sharing something in the notes. Okay. There's someone asking how to not feel lonely while we do remote working. And in my experience, I can feel that, and I don't have companions. Yes, it can be alone. It can be a little bit lonely sometimes when you do remote working, but maybe we can share on the discussion later on how it's solved by Alex and also Delta and also Doni, based on their experience working in remote working companies. And there's been a sharing here also. I've been working remotely for about 6 years now. Wow. And I do really enjoy it. I don't think I can go back working from office in regular basis anymore. I think I could agree with you in that, Irene. So I was working in the office right before the pandemic, and then pandemic hits, then we start doing the work from home rituals. And then we do the hybrid, and now in Astronaut I do the full remote working, and I think I do enjoy the flexibility that it gives me to do the remote working. And again, it depends on how the company is building their culture to have a more productive remote working in that sense, to make me not feel as lonely, even though I was working at home by myself, but to have a great team that is there to support me and the rest of the team is really great to have. Cons, sometimes I feel disengaged with the team. Yes, yes. And it's also hard to balance between work and personal life. Okay, Great, great. Maybe we can talk about that also, right? How to divide the time, because sometimes it's the line is kind of blurry now that we do the remote working and also, staying at home doing our work, and then we just don't know what the limit anymore. So maybe Mas Doni will be our speaker, can also share with that, because he also have like a focus to do like a good experience for our employees, right, Mas Doni?
Yes.
And hi, I want to share my experience on working and collaborating remotely since 2021. It was basically very fun. Yes, I agree with you, and give me such incredible flexibility with time and spread me a lot of time from having to go through Jabodetabek area. I agree with you. I live in Depok, and to go to Jakarta, it takes me almost like 2 hours. So it's such a hassle. I'm not sure for other people who works outside of Jakarta, but the traffic here is really awful. And to be able to work from home, it's like a really great ideal working environment for me. Oh, somebody else share here. Oh, Alex also shared remote working can be lonely sometimes. Yes, have left that for sure. My personal advice is try out covering spaces around you, the ones that have a nice community with some effort and socializing. You might be adopted in their community. Great, 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 great idea, Alex. Yes, so maybe finding like community around you, where you can who you can spend your after working hour time with them, so it's not going to be as lonely as you think it will be. Okay, anybody else want to share? Oh, co-working. I see, sorry, not community. Co-working. Okay, nice co-working. I agree. Yeah, I think in Jakarta we have a lot of co-working. Can I mention the names? So like Go Work and then We Work and that sort of stuff. I think it's really helpful, so you don't feel as lonely as you when you do it at home. You can even, get introduced to new people, understanding new, uh, how to say, technology sometimes, because most of the people, not most of the people, many of the people who adopt the remote working is working in like a technology or IT companies, and it's really interesting to understand, oh, what is the new technology, and just opening up your mind more about what's out there. Oh, and we also have Live It in Bali, right? As a co-working space, it's really great. So Alex here is one of our panelists, is working in Live It, and maybe she can share a little bit more on our discussion about how Live It is doing it, because who doesn't want to work in Bali, right? Yeah, by having like a remote working culture, you can work in Bali. You can go to Live It, for example, as a co-working space, meet new people there, meet new community there, and at the end of the day, you just go to the beach and enjoy the sunset. Who doesn't want that? Great. Okay, anybody else want to share their experience? So my experience remote working from Jakarta, at the end of the day, the thing that is, I think, very excites me is not having to face the traffic. The end of work traffic is sometimes even worse than the morning traffic, because everyone like wants to go as early as possible. They go at the same time, and it's just awful. For the morning traffic, sometimes they are split, because some people do their start their work at 8, some people do their work at 9, and some even have more flexibility to do it like anytime before lunch coming to the office. But at closing hour after working after office, they usually like 5 p.m. They just leave their office, and everybody was just like melting in a melting pot in the street, and we just have to enjoy that even though we don't enjoy it at all. Right now, I think in Jakarta, we do have some public transportation that can help with that if you are still working in the office. But I think the topic today will be very interesting for everyone, maybe who are still implementing a full work from office culture. Maybe HR here, the HR here. So maybe you can, discuss internally how maybe you can change that and how to implement it, and propose to your boss that remote working culture is still possible and still can be done effectively and productively with the tips and tricks that our panelists will give you along the event today. Oh, there's another note here. A big plus from remote working. I can nap during lunchtime. Great. Awesome. Just take your alarm clock, set it like for 30 minutes, and you wake up again and start doing your work. I actually did it at my previous office also, right? When I was working at the office, but it's not quite enjoyable, I would say, because there's no place to do like a proper nap. But at home, you have your, bedroom, you can do that like more comfortably. So it's great. Okay, we will start in 1 more minute. So if everybody else is ready, or if anybody else wants to share again their stories of how they do the remote working, please do share on your chat. I think it's really great to hear your stories here. Okay, it's 1:30 now, so I think we can start our next agenda. So the event today will be moderated by our own CEO in Astronaut, Mr. Nigel Hembro. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, Nadila.
Oh.
Yep. Good to be here.
Hi.
And thanks everyone for joining.
Great to have you here. So I think this will be like a really exciting event. It's really a lot that we can learn during the session. So yeah, I'm really excited. Over to you, Nigel.
Fantastic, cool. So let's jump in, right? Yeah, it's busy days, and I hope you all had a great lunch. Yeah, thanks for squeezing us in before you get into your productive afternoons. Yeah, so yeah, as Nadila said, I'm Nigel. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Astronaut. We are a recruitment technology company, and we'll talk a little bit about us. But the main topic today is something that's really close to my heart, which is remote working and making it happen. Yeah. So my hope today is that everyone can come away from today with a really accelerated understanding of why organizations and leaders in organizations are making decisions to have a hybrid style workforce and organization. So why are they doing that? Yeah, sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. There was some of you probably heard of the pandemic. Yeah, that impacted things dramatically. And wasn't an intentional reason, but everyone had to react. So on that topic, I want to talk about why and then how. Yeah, because it's great to want something, but if you can't make it happen, then that's really no one gets the benefit. So I want to thank Alex, Delta, Donnie for being here today. We'll introduce them in a second. But Satya, if you want to just throw up a few slides, I'll do a little quick introduction about Astronaut, and then we'll get into hearing about Livit, Kiskus, and Happy Five. So, sorry, Astronaut is our big belief is that the talent ecosystem needs to be connected. Yeah. So what does that mean? Talent will move much faster if organizations are connected. If universities are connected with employers, our big mission is to make sure the industry is connected. This is something that we're launching in Q3, which is called Pop School, powered by Astronaut. Yeah, it's a talent ecosystem for graduates in Indonesia that are graduating out of universities and looking to accelerate their early careers. Yeah, so we work our B2B business, as you can see there on the left. We work with universities to help them with student admissions technology, but also now career centers. And of course, we work with the employers who are looking for job-ready candidates coming out of universities. Graduate recruitment is one of our main areas of focus, but we do offer our services across the full spectrum of everything from blue collar through to professional mid-level hires as well. So next slide. Thanks, Atrio. This is a quick insight into the technology we have. You can see there going from left to right that we have landing pages. We communicate with candidates via email, SMS, and WhatsApp. And we are in the process of looking at releasing chat interface. But candidates come to our platform. It's all on demand. They answer questions by video selfie, multiple choice, and free text. Of course, all of the questions are science-backed and use the best principles of structured interviewing, cognitive assessments, skill tests. So we call this holistic assessment. Yeah. Now, why do companies work with us? Because they can reduce their time to hire massively. Yeah, by 50, 60, 70%. The hiring managers and the recruitment teams spend a whole lot less time. And so, yeah, if you want more information about Astronaut, do reach out to Nadila. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Satrio, for throwing that up. Now I want to get on to something that is more important, which is our panelists. Yeah. We have three here today, all selected because they have specific domain experience in this topic. Yeah. Each of them has a different story, but every organization has a different story. Yeah. And I want you to understand each of their different stories because part of that is actually that every company has a different remote work and hybrid story as well. Every company is unique. There's no one size fits all. Yeah. So I want to start with Alex, actually. Yeah. Alex is from Livit. Yeah. As Nadila was saying earlier, they are based in Bali, although they have global reach. Yeah. We love them. I've been to their office in Sanur to spend a bit of time there. But Alex is going to do a much better introduction explaining about Livit. So I'll hand over to her. So and as you introduced, Alex, just quickly, what does Livit do? What is your role? And also, what is your organization structure? Yeah. So I don't want to go much deeper. I'm going to save some more questions for you later, but I think it's as you introduce your org, it'd be great to also just have a little bit of a snippet of sort of where do the people sit in your organization? Yep. Over to you.
A lot of questions, but excited to go through all of them. So hello everyone, my name is Alexandrina, but as it's a long name and it can be a tongue twist, just refer to me Alex is good. So I'm originally from Romania, but I've been working and living in Indonesia on and off for 8 years now. So I am the head of talent acquisition and talent management in Livit. What is Livit? Livit is a digital and physical hub. We work mainly with entrepreneurs, tech startups, and lately also dealt a bit into the part of NGOs and educational partners. So we have an array of services from the co-working service, which we cater in our beautiful, I cannot show around, but right now I'm actually at Livit Hub, so in our beautiful co-working space in Sanur. But aside from that, we also work with, as I said, entrepreneurs, startup teams, founder teams, companies in general, in helping them to grow their team and businesses, improve their impact, innovation, and all of that. So in that sense, we are HR business partners for a lot of our clients. We help recruit a lot of candidates across any type of tech you just name it. I think we've done it in terms of recruitment, and our reach is global in the sense that we're working with partners from different countries and continents at this point. So in terms of structure, you would think that Livid, there has to be a big team behind all of that. Well, not really. We are 20 people. If I factor in also interns and part-timers, I think we're at around 23 people right now. The majority of the team is based in Indonesia, and we do have setups. We have different setups when it comes to the remote part. So we have fully remote people. For instance, one of team members in my team is based in Jakarta, Josephine, and she's fully remote. Then we have another team member that is based in Europe. She's also fully remote. I am based in Bali, and I have a flexible remote schedule, meaning that if one day I decide to work from home or from another co-working space or cafe or whatever it is, I do that. And then I just come to the office or the hub whenever there are meetings and stuff like that. So we kind of are going through this 3 sets or setups of remote. It's full remote, it's flexible remote schedule. And then of course, unfortunately, there are some roles that they are bound to a physical location. So for instance, the front desk team at the hub, their main job is to be at the hub, right? So just to kind of show that there's always 2 sides of the story, right? And aside from that, in terms of structure, we use Holacracy. So we are a holacratic organization. I'm going to type the name in the chat if anyone is interested. Okay, so it's just a different way of let's say managing a company, but at the core of it, we still have growth, which is business development and marketing. We have people operations and compliance, and then my team, my team is called talent and culture. So the more soft strategic part of HR, if that makes sense. And then we have finance, and then we have the Livid Hub team, and pretty much, I guess that's it when it comes to what we do in our structure.
Fantastic. And if I was understanding correctly, linking back to my point earlier about the why, the why you're remote is linked very much to the holacracy philosophy in the org. Is that right?
Right. Well, actually, holacracy is a byproduct, because holacracy empowers us to be, actually a very good point. Holacracy is a tool that empowers us to have, and one of those systems that enables us to have a good infrastructure for effective remote work. The why we work remotely, because I guess it's in the DNA of our company. Our co-founders founded Livid literally remotely back in the day, way before remote work was cool, were trendy, let's say. And ever since then, because I guess we attracted this more type of entrepreneurs that were thinking more outside of the box and were not conforming to the norms of work, I guess it kind of sticked. So we implemented remote work, as I said in the beginning, organically. However, the more our business and operation and team grew, the more we understood that we need to get serious in the sense of getting intentional on how we implement and perform and develop this remote work culture.
Great. Thanks, Alex. That was fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to hand now to Delta, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, their why has also something to do with how they were founded. Yeah. So Delta is based in Jogja. He's the CEO and co-founder, as you can see, of Kiskus. We have been a customer of Kiskus. They're a great organization. And Delta, if you can please introduce yourself and also explain about your organization, where do people sit, and also why? Yeah, why are you hybrid remote?
Cool. Is my voice clear? Sorry.
Yep, can hear. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, first and foremost, thank you very much, Astronauts, for organizing this amazing event, especially to Nigel. It's definitely an honor for me to be here. And it's great to meet you, Alexandra, as well as Donnie. I just met Donnie this morning for coffee. Yeah, my name is Delta. I guess I can compete with Alex when it comes to the length of our name, but you can just call me Delta. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kiskas. Kiskas is a SaaS company, software as a service company. We are an omni-channel customer engagement platforms. We are helping business delivering or producing a great customer experience, a memorable customer experience in the era of social media and messaging that we are currently in. You can imagine Kiskas as a platform where any form of communication between business and customers, especially in social media and messaging, you can name it like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and 20 of our other channels that we supported in the platform itself is handled as a single platform in Kiskas. The goal is of course to increase business revenue, to increase the customer loyalty, and so on. So Kiskas founded sometimes in 2015, 2016. Actually, we started a bit earlier than that as a founding team, and like Nigel has said just now, it's kind of influenced how we decided to actually now jump into a hybrid working engagement or working ecosystem at the moment in the company, because we are in general working as a remote company since the very beginning. But throughout that journey itself, we decided to I personally decided to move from Singapore to Yogyakarta. So I'm technically based not in Jakarta, but in Yogyakarta. Feel free to visit our office in Jogja. But I'm currently traveling to Jakarta. During that process itself, we, in general, kind of have this since the very beginning, where we have office and people actually working from the office most of the time until the pandemic actually hits. But even before pandemic, there are 3 of us that are actually working remotely. But we don't enforce. In general, we ask people to come to office pre-pandemic because we believe then was the most optimal way for us to bring greater output as a company. But as you guys know, pandemic hit and we kind of have no choice that, okay, everyone now has to work from home. So it's kind of already, we have somewhat an experience in virtual or remote working. And in terms of business itself, it's naturally able to be done, able to be executed remotely. It's a SaaS company. It's not heavy operational kind of company, but we kind of hesitated pre-pandemic. And that's also a learning point because what we realized is you cannot exactly, at least what I experienced is that you cannot implement a hybrid works by a partial in your organization because there will always some sort of bias basically. So that's why during the pandemic we hit everyone, okay, work from home. During the pandemic itself we grew like 3 times from about 40 people. Now we are 150 people, and we never look back. Pandemic is gone, but we are not coming back to office. We call ourselves hybrid technically because we have office remains in Jakarta, in Yogyakarta, and Singapore. But the office, our hybrid definition is not exactly like the employees has to like come once or twice a week or a month. No, we really let the decisions in each squad in the companies to decide whether they need to come to office or not. If they need, office is available for them to come in. Talking about the team, just now we are 150 people. In general, we have 7 squads from product to businesses. In general, there are 3 main functions. The product team, the R&D team is basically probably about 50% of the company. Then the business team, inclusive marketing, account management, sales, and everything is about 40%, and the remaining is basically our operation team. And I mentioned majority actually working from their own home. But as a SaaS company that rely a lot on sales and account management, some part of our operation is actually not required. It's more like it's part of the business to ask the team not to come to office, but to actually to meet our clients physically, especially post-pandemic. So it's kind of a hybrid where everyone can work wherever they need to. at their own time and at their own place. But specifically for relationship with our customers and partners, we encourage our team to actually meeting physically with the team.
So
yeah,
Delta, I want you
that's what
to
discuss.
hold a bit of your insights back for future questions. Okay, yeah. But that was really fantastic. And as you can see, you know, that journey included a bit of intentional reasoning and a bit of reacting to different situations. So Delta, thanks so much for eloquently explaining that. Yeah. Donnie, before I introduce Donnie, I need to mention a magical moment that Donnie and I shared, because I've known Donnie for a while, but he and I were in Bali about 6 months before the pandemic at a conference. Yeah. It was called the Remote Working Conference. Yeah. And people had flown in from all over the world to attend the Remote Working Conference. Running remote. Exactly. Yeah. Running remote. And I'm really glad I did. Well, one, because I got to hang out with Donnie, and two, my mind was really starting to already, I didn't know I'd need those new skills. I was already thinking about the benefits of remote. So I do remember that time, really special time. And so Donnie, the founder and chief empathy officer of Happy Five, started the business. It's a HR tech business in the same industry as Astronaut. We are complementary, and Donnie, I'm sure has has a different story than Delta and Alex about his business, but particularly how and why they operate in a remote. And I'm guessing probably out of these ones, the most remote out of these 3 organizations. Yeah. So Donnie, over to you.
Right. Thank you, Nigel. And great to meet you, Alex and Delta. Thanks for your gift. I'm stuffed now. So Happy Five is a SaaS company. We help enterprises, startup, boosting their employee productivity, performance, etc. We've been around for 9 years, right? So the story will be divided into 2 parts: before and after pandemic. So before pandemic, like all of our team, like we have 40 people, and all like we rent a space at WeWork, a very beautiful place at Menara Astra, super beautiful, 40 people. And I really like offline working. I really like to meet with other persons that I can see you in persons. That's like I don't like doing things like with Zoom. I hate it, but it changed like everything. Part 2 is after the pandemic. We cannot go to the office anymore, right? The only person that still went to the office is me, because I couldn't work at home. I got 2 kids, 2 beautiful girls. I mean, like, I just cannot work at home. So I need to go away from my home. But, it doesn't mean that I need to push my way of working into my teams, right? Especially like the things that we build, the software that we build, how to manage alignment, goals, performance, and so on, that we really like came across that we don't want to micromanage people. We want that everyone has clear accountability and also the impact. So the impact, not the busyness, right? The impact, not the output. So, so I don't care whether like you sleep, nap, whatever, doing the yoga, doing everything, because we have clarity on the things that we are accountable for. What is the impact? And that's what's the purpose of the product of Happy Five. And the team grew, not as big as Delta. We grew from 40 to 60 people. Ever since then, we are fully remote. Again, I don't like it. COVID pushed me to do that. So again, like, at my back, I'm still like now. So I'm still renting a space at WeWork, for 10 people. But again, the only person that come to this office is only me. So the other person is fully remote. So I guess the why, now why the COVID is over, why we decided to continue this 100% fully remote. Number one is, although I hate it, but the teams like it. So, how can I say no to that? No, I don't like it. Everybody must come to the office. No, it doesn't work that way. So yeah, everybody likes it. It's kind of like the perks. Imagine like that, after the COVID, and then like, hey, it get used to, they used to work like 100% fully remote, and now like 2 days you should go to the office, 3 days you should go to the office. It's just like, what the, like, this is like, like we can work well like before that, and then why you choose the word hybrid again, and then like, what, that become the perks, that working in Happy Five. You can go elsewhere having a better salary, for example, but in here you got 100% fully remote, 100% fully nap and lunch at your home, or at Canggu, or at whatever, at Ubud, at whatever, Jogja, whatever. I don't care. We don't care. Right. So that is the why, the reasons that, and I think like, Donnie, if you got more money, whatever funding, like, do you want to change that? I don't think so. But again, I really like working at the office. So if one of my team or to my team went to the office, I treat them to lunch and dinner, whatever, because I like to meet persons in persons. So that is the why.
Fantastic. Thanks, Donnie. And a story told so well. A reluctant remote worker, yeah. And if anyone wants to visit Donnie, and he wants you to visit, yeah, in person, yeah. He's at WeWork at Revenue Tower, yeah, in SCBD, yeah. Okay. And you've reminded me, I do need to come visit you actually soon. All right, cool. All right, guys. So I want to make sure we don't run out of time, because we do have some really important topics to get into. And I think that in the descriptions that the guys gave here, they kind of touched on a few things that I wanted to talk about later. But I think it'd be really helpful now, as we switch from why to how, because everything in life, there's the execution, right? We want to do things well. Yeah. People want to do their life well. People want to run their teams well. People want to run their businesses well. That's the how. So how do we do this so we can get the benefits, whether we're doing it reluctantly, like Donnie, or whether we do it intentionally. Well, you can still do it reluctantly and intentionally, yeah. But how do we do it right? Now, one of the things is really starting to define, and particularly in the context of recruitment, who actually do you need to look for? Because there's certain characteristics of people that work well in this structure. Yeah. So I do want to now talk a bit about sort of culture fit, the culture of the organization, and then what kind of people really fit in. Yeah. So I might do it back in reverse. Yeah. So I'll go back to Donnie. Yeah. So you've probably done a little bit of recruitment, replacement, since you've been in your reluctant remote working situation. Yeah. How do you, and also maybe you've got a few staff that you're helping them align to, the new, because from what you're saying, everyone went, or most people went remote. So there would have been a bit of a transition there, including for yourself, right? Yeah. And it sounds actually maybe that you're the one that had to align yourself the most.
Correct.
But from culture fit perspective, what are the things that you're seeing in your teams and your leaders that align very well with effective remote working?
I guess two things.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, as I mentioned before, and not that we haven't done it before, but we put emphasis on the impact. What is a clear OKR? Because again, I cannot see you working. I cannot see you. I trust you. We are adult, but I do not want like, hey, what's your job? What's your, daily stand up? We don't do that. I don't do that. But we hold accountable on the impact and the clarity. So that's number one. The alignment and so on, very, 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 even more criticals. Even like if you don't work remote, you have to do it. And if you want to do it remote, it's like super, super duper extra because you don't have the chance to meet and bump and like, hey, do you know that we have to do this, right? We don't have that luxury. So it becomes very intentional. Number two, it's a new working culture, of how to, it's a new way of communications. Now we got introduced by asynchronous communications. What is the asynchronous communications, Donnie? Glad you asked, right? Typical communication is just like, hey, I ask questions to Nigel and Nigel talk back to me, But asynchronous meaning that, everything is in written, or maybe a video, right? But it's like, hey, you write something, but you have to write very, very precise, very clear, very crisp, right? And it's hard because especially in Indonesia, we are not taught to write clearly, right? It's a challenge. It's different from maybe from Australia or your place, Alex. But in Indonesia, we don't have the kind. So this is something that we need to learn. Right? So like you don't have to have real-time meetings, but put like everything, and then we need to differentiate between like, hey, what is the thing that we need to do with asynchronous communications, and where's the part that we need to do it like this, right? The types of like updates you have to do it like asynchronous, but the types like you need to fight, you need to empower difficult conversations, complex problem, and then you need to meet like this, doing these asynchronous conversations. And if you cannot solve it, and then you have to meet, right? This is like that's like the ultimate So yeah, that's I guess the and then building the cadence again, like weekly cadence again, because you don't have the luxury of bumping your colleague in the pantry, right? But you have to do intentional with the cadence, with the weekly updates, with the with the quarterly review, town hall. It become more and more intentional, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you need Happy Five to do that.
Absolutely. Nice.
Yeah,
100%.
So that's
Exactly.
the how.
Exactly. So to recap there, accountability, individual accountability is a characteristic that that you look for and that you value for people working in your organization and your culture. Yeah.
Nigel,
Mhm.
can I jump a bit? So accountability is we need to differentiate between the outcome and the activity.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, hey, I'm busy, I'm doing this, that's a lot of things but that's difference between the activity that you're doing right now and the impact. So because we don't want to do the micromanaging, like, hey, what are you doing today? What you gonna do tomorrow? What are the list of things, like, you don't want to do that, right? Yep. But you want to do like, what is the impact? What is the impact? What is the outcome that we can see? So
Yep.
So the how, it's become like it's up to you, but you are being accountable not with the activity itself, but with the outcome.
Yeah, exactly. At Astronaut, one of our company values is set, objective, move fast. Yeah. So we really try and make sure that we're intentional about, you know, the outcome that we're trying to achieve. Yeah. So Donnie, thanks so much. We'll come back to you in a bit. Yeah. I'm going to go to Delta now. And it'd be great to hear from you, Delta, about, you know, what are the characteristics of the folks that you see that succeed the best in your working culture.
Cool. So when it comes to how in Kiskas, probably because of the culture that we have 3 points. And 2 of those actually what have been mentioned by Donnie. So it's kind of, I believe it's similar, probably Alex also has similar principles when it comes to executing and remote working in terms of how. The first is I fully agree with what Donnie has said. Whether it's remote, whether you work from cafe, whether you work from Bali, you work from Jogja, it's always about, it's about how, but the most important is how exactly this push the organization forward. What is the outcome? What is the output you want to achieve? And in order to do that, I think in Kiskas, we really emphasize a lot of the mission alignment, particularly in general. I think Donnie is the expert in OKR. Alex just mentioned that Livid also using OKR. In Kiskas also, we are using OKR as a way to align the missions, basically. And in the remote working environments, this even become more important because when we were just like 10, 20 people, everyone is in the same room. I can just say that, okay, this is where we are going. Everyone just moving to that direction. Now everyone is in their own table, in their own chairs. How exactly we need to ensure that we need to have a clear color, very clear directions and communicated that well to ensure that everyone is like moving in the same direction. So that's the first. Number 2 is asynchronous, like Donnie mentions. And I've observed a lot of organizations try to implement a remote working, but fail to recognize that the essence of remote working is actually a way to asynchronously do the work, basically. Because otherwise it become a normal working from office, but you're just not in the same room, which is a failure when it comes to implementing remote working. So the spirit, the mindset is always about how exactly we can execute things as asynchronous as possible. Of course, even in Kiskas, not everything possible to become asynchronous. There are certain cadence, there are certain town hall, there are certain things that we want to be execute that physically or synchronously. Like on our side, the business side, we meet clients physically, or all one-on-ones is supposed to be a meeting rather than an asynchronous one-on-one. I don't know whether that could happen or not, but that emotional relationship is important. Number 3, this kind of probably inherently have been present in Kiskas before we implement remote working, which is connectedness. And we had these principles. We didn't have this principle initially. And what happened was when everyone worked remotely, 16th of March 2020 back then. And after a few months running, business goes well. We are growing a lot, but we realized that people are, felt very siloed, felt very stressed because we didn't have this way to make they feel connected somehow. There's kind of a kind of balance that we want to strike in Kiskas, that yes, you work as asynchronous as possible, but somehow you need to be connected. That's why in Kiskas we implemented a way, many ways. Actually, we explore a lot of ways to ensure that the employees actually still feel connected with the team, with the squads, still connected with our mission overall as a company, still connected with everyone in the company. Their boss, for example, by many ways, basically. First and foremost, I think we ensure that we every year we wanted to have an annual retreat, basically, where everyone just comes physically together somewhere. We didn't manage to do this in 2020, 2021. We managed to do it just last year. Just this year, actually. That's the first time, like before pandemic, when we gathered together, it was like 30, 40 people. Now suddenly we have like 150 people coming together. It was like an amazing experience for me personally as a leader. Like, wow, now I have to be accountable of all these people and families. Kind of heartwarming for me personally. We also ensure that, and beside that one annual gathering, we let the squads to actually co-organize themselves how exactly they want to be connected. So for example, we enforce one-on-one, they themselves have their own retreats every quarter. So we set aside every squad can have one holiday, and we set aside budget for each squad. You guys can do anything with that, basically. And yeah, that's what we did. So 3 things just now: alignment, synchronous, and connectedness. And we of course look for the kind of characters, the kind of people who fit into this kind of principles that we have. And how we do it, basically, yeah, we use technology, we use the way to, in fact, the recruitment process itself is a virtual recruitment in a way, because people understand us from social media, for example. The interview is done from in a Zoom or in a virtual environment. So that itself become our brands, our ways, our values that we want to put across, and that naturally actually filter out the kind of candidates that we consider to be ideal to work optimally in this case. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Delta. That's really interesting. I actually want to, there's a question from the audience, which I might send to Donnie and Delta, and then we'll go to Alex to talk about, I want to ask her actually her opinion on, because she works with startup founders, etc. As she was explaining. I might get her to, and so I'm just giving you this question with a bit of notice, Alex, because I'll come to you in a second. Give your opinion on what you've heard there from Donnie and Delta compared to what you feel is best practice or what you support your clients to do. So don't answer that yet, Alex, but I'm going to ask you to highlight from what you're hearing there from Donnie and Delta, what your thoughts are as an expert, advisor, and supporter of people like Donnie and Delta who are growing their businesses. But the question that came through, and I think it does relate to both Donnie and Delta's experience, which is if you have some employees which are and you're transitioning, yeah. So it seems that you guys have made your transition, yeah. At Astronaut, we've also made our transition. But what are the things that for an organization that is wanting to use remote much more than they are now? If there are existing employees that need support, of course, it's not very nice to say you do this or you don't do this, but what are the things that maybe you needed to do to support people to transition? Yeah. Who wants to go first? Who's got a really good story of success story of being able to help someone transition, or is it actually difficult to help people transition?
Oh yeah, I'll try to take it up.
Thanks, Delta. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, as I mentioned just now, is for Kiskas. I mean, while we as a business naturally is quite in the DNA that you can actually execute things asynchronously or remotely. There's still challenges that we face. That how exactly we can transition the team. And for us, it's like that be complicated because during that period of time when we just started, we actually grew 3 times or about that. So it's like, it's not just we have to ensure that the existing employees kind of retain happy without reducing happy 5 yet back then. But also there's really a lot of people or 3 times the existing people that coming in. We didn't know them, we never met them physically. They're also present there. So and a lot of challenges happens back then. So first and foremost, I think it comes back to the principles that we have basically. How we help them transition is to assist them in ensuring that they are clear. Every single person in the company should be clear in what exactly they want to move towards to, be it in a squad level, be in an organization level. So we kind of improve how exactly we can execute or write our OKR as clear as possible. 2, we teach them or we share with them on the importance of not just about writing, like Donnie just now about I think aptly mentions about that. Indonesians don't tend to write that clear, but also to read more because I mean there are a lot of more things to read now that people are actually writing. So both things, I think, we assist people on transitioning to that. We use like a good communication tools to ensure that everyone can easily check the historical conversations. We invested a lot in that communication tools in the very beginning, and even doing all those things to ensure that everyone is transitioning correctly. We set up something that until I believe that's important for us in transitioning is we created this program called Employee Pulse back then. Employee Pulse is just, it's like everyone once a week just say something in a pulse, and it's a private message. It directly goes to me as a CEO, and no one else actually can see. It just goes to me directly as a CEO. It's just for me to understand that how are they doing. It's just I think just two questions like, how are you feeling this week? And there's are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling content and so on? And then can you just tell some stories? So we did that, and from there are a lot of insights that we got that we then transform how exactly we execute things. For example, just now about the feeling of silos and stress because of that, especially happen in the new onboarded employees, for example. We realized that a lot of employees never exactly spoke to the founders, the newly onboarded employees. Before pandemic, we used to have like when I visit the office or when I go to office, I will just have a lunch with them, like easily, you can just feel connected easily. Oh, this is how KISKAS is, this is how we started, this is how our story is. That makes them feel connected. Now we didn't have that. We no longer have that during it. So we immediately executed, for example, what we call now an AMA, Ask Me Anything. So basically one of the founders just sit in with the new onboarded employees as part of their onboarding experience, so that they know that, okay, these are the founders. Is one thing that we say that we are very transparent. You can always talk to me, but if there's nothing to trigger that, they will never talk to the founders. Basically, they just feel scared of that or whatever reason. Basically, so that's what we did. So during that session, I will just answer all their questions, ensure that they feel connected, and I specifically tell them that AMA is just a trigger, guys. And I will not be able to answer all of your questions within that an hour or 90-minute session, but hopefully by that sessions, everyone realized that, okay, the culture of KISKAS is very transparent. You can always talk to me. You can always just like me. You can always just message me, and then we can have a talk. We can have one-on-one. So that's one of the things that happens because of that employee pulse, and the employee pulse allow us to understand that within certain period, how come everyone is so stressed? Is it because of certain things that we do? So that's kind of our way to gauge how well we are doing remotely, especially during the first year of that transitioning phase.
Fantastic. So really supporting people, making sure they can connect with the business leaders, and having the right tools can help people transition, And I think the really good tools that are well designed, that are easy to use, are not that difficult to adopt, because everyone in their personal lives are also adopting tools. So that that ability to help people transition, certainly from our experience, actually wasn't that hard. Donnie, do you have any quick stories around transitioning people? It seems or transitioning yourself, maybe. Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Yeah.
I guess nobody have the problem, only me.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that's struggling a lot. Yeah. It's all good now.
Okay, cool. And I can, it is all good. All right. So Alex, as promised, I'm going to go to you now, because you, myself, Donnie, Delta, we see inside our organizations, that's our world, But you, in addition to seeing inside Live It, you get to also see inside the organizations of your clients, So what are you seeing that on these topics of difficult to transition or the appropriate behaviors that you look for in terms of culture fit? What are you seeing on those two topics? And then if you do want to, if there were some things that Donnie or Delta said about their organizations, which you particularly liked, yeah, feel free to share as well. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, my mind was going 500 kilometers per hour thus far, because there were actually a lot of things that were said that I could follow up and give entire lectures about, but kind of being mindful of the time. So trying to see where do I even start from. So specifically, we're practicing this in Live It, and I'm advising this also to the founders, entrepreneurs, C-suite people that we're working with, specifically for startups that are scaling, right? So they've got their Series A, B, C, doesn't matter, investments, and they're doing scale-ups of 2-3x in terms of headcount, and a lot of those hires are remote, let's say, or in a distributed team. So from when it comes to hiring specifically for people that are going to be fully remote or even flex remote, or because I think that this is a hidden part of remote that no one is talking about, people that are going to be in the office physically, but they are going to work with a distributed team, because the remote, if you think about it, it's also two ways. Even if you're not fully remote yourself, but if you have to work with a team that is in 5 different places with 10 time zones, you theoretically, even you are in the office, you do have that experience of remote work, because you work asynchronously and you work with people that are not there with you. So for these types of roles, I normally go for, in my experience, the highest performers in this space are people that are highly autonomous. As Donnie said, micromanagement is the antithesis of remote work. I mean, theoretically, you could micromanage people in remote work, but then, sorry, that's kind of defeats the purpose of remote work to start with. So you need people that are self-disciplined and highly autonomous, people that do not need the colloquial babysitting or a lot of hand-holding. Hand-holding is good. You have to do it. It's part of specifically remote onboarding. You have to hand-hold your new employees, to integrate them, to show them around, as Delta said, right? Onboarding is very important. But people that perform very well in the remote setup are people that they enjoy the initial hand-holding, but after that, they just know what to do, how to do it, and if they have the right infrastructure, tools, and support, they just get it. I'm not sure how else to explain it. It's the people that get it and go and as Donnie said, I like that very much, and I think that also very synonymous to remote culture is output over input. Doesn't matter how, when, and how you do it, as long as you're delivering amazing results. That's the most important. And that's just not just in the context of remote work, in the context of future of work in general. Output should be the thing that speaks the loudest, not the input, right? So to come back, highly autonomous people, highly disciplined. People that never stop, nor they want to stop learning, because remote work is a let's say environment that changes and is very dynamic. To be an effective remote worker, you have to be tech savvy. To be tech savvy, you have to have this mindset of, I actually don't know nothing, and I know that I don't know nothing, and I know that tomorrow there's going to be 5 more new tools, better tools, and I have to be on top of that. So I highly encourage founders to always look for employees with this mindset. It's called lifelong learning, right? Like people with lifelong learning mindset, they thrive in remote work because they know that there's always something that they can learn, do better, and stuff like that. Okay, and then this one is trickiest because this one you can't really test within the interviews, maybe with some very well thought simulation and case studies, but you get to know this aspect only throughout the probation period, like the first 3 months, and that's how people deal with adversity, how people deal with change. Remote work here, I would say, to going back to the question from Sophia, remote work is not for everyone. Remote work is amazing, but the hard truth, again, that a lot of people kind of, I'm not sure, avoid to say is that remote work is not for everyone. There are people that will not do well in remote work. There are people that are actually going to feel miserable, unproductive, and demotivated while working remotely. So as we did with forcing everyone into remote because of the pandemic, I don't think we should force everyone into remote work just because it's this trendy thing. It's always go back to the why. If the why makes sense, and it doesn't make sense for trivial and superficial things, yes, go for remote work, implement it in your company. But if you see that there's some people in your company that are struggling with remote work, start with why are they struggling? Maybe you don't actually have the best policies in place. Maybe you actually didn't do a proper transition. So start with the why in the sense of what can we do better, or are we doing the best to actually support those people? And if the answer is yes, you're doing your best, and those people still do not feel happy, productive, whatever it is in remote work, then it's literally, those are one of those people that remote work is just not for them. So yeah, just to be completely transparent on that part. Please remind me, what was the other part of the question?
I think you made a few comments about both Delta and Donnie and their organizations, which was fantastic. That was the other part. Yeah. But maybe in terms of process, I wanted to maybe go a bit deeper on the processes of recruitment. Actually, you'd mentioned simulations. Donnie had mentioned asynchronous. Actually, everyone had mentioned asynchronous. Alex, in the work that you do, what are some of the sort of the tricks? Of course, part of it is, of course, using Astronaut, but from a recruitment perspective, in terms of sourcing, in terms of what to look for, in terms of screening and selecting, because of course you don't want to make a bad hire. You select the right people. What are some of how do you design your process at Livet?
I mean, it's pretty much your typical recruitment hiring funnel, and it depends really on the role and how many stages we have, what tools we have, what sources we use to source candidates. But if we are talking specifically about remote skills, a pro bono trick or let's say advice of how can you best simulate let's say a perfect environment to get an appraisal of, is the person a good remote worker or not? So I think that's done best in final interviews, actually. And if you know that one of the, let's say the trends lately would be that the final interviews are actually panel interviews called Meet the Team. So you actually don't have just the co-founder, you actually have multiple people meeting the finalists and having an interview with them. Now, take that a step further, and instead of meet the team, do a work with us half day. Most of the time, this is a practice that is done a lot this started to be done a lot in the US and Europe in the last couple of years. So it's paid, of course, because it has to be equitable and fair, but do this online. So literally do a half day work with us online with this person, with the finalists. I would recommend to do this with more senior roles. With more junior roles, I would definitely just recommend recruiters to shift their focus. In what ways? Don't pay attention to what people say in the interviews, but pay even more attention to things outside of the interviews. How fast they respond to emails, how fast they respond to your messages. Do they make a lot of typos in their like written communication? Do they read the room in changing their tone of voice when it comes to emails? Because again, asynchronous communication is all about that, right? What else? See if they just drop you a thank you note after the interview. So as I said, because you're trying to simulate the remote work, pay attention at the asynchronous elements of the recruitment, not the synchronous ones, which are the actual interviews. That would be another advice for the more junior roles. But the remote work with us kind of half days, I think that's the closest you can actually get to understanding if the person is doing well in a remote context.
Fantastic. So lots of golden insights there, and I think Alex said you went a bit further than the pro bono advice there. Yeah, you're quite generous there with your tips and advice. So of course, if anyone is looking for support, they should reach out to Alex. How can they get in contact with you, Alex?
LinkedIn.
Cool.
LinkedIn,
Awesome.
LinkedIn file. My name is quite unique. So if you just type Alexandra Dannefeld, I'll show up on LinkedIn. DM me on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to connect with any of you, really. And yeah, just connect, talk about recruitment, and beyond that, talent management, whatever you guys are interested in.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now I have a question that came in actually from the YouTube live streaming, which is fantastic. And it was, I think maybe someone's a bit skeptical. I don't know if the question's coming from that perspective, but they were asking about any examples of proven results of how remote working culture can actually impact on a company's performance. Now, I think the first thing that came into my mind was, well, I might ask Donnie and Delta, what would have happened to your organization if you didn't go remote? Because that's the alternative. That's the other side of the coin of looking at the impact in performance is really having an understanding of what would things have been like if you didn't. Yeah. Now, obviously with COVID, many businesses didn't survive, right? And if you didn't go remote, then it wouldn't have been good at all. But maybe I'll ask Donnie any thoughts on this one. And of course, you do have a unique situation where you have had to adapt yourself as well. And so we could do an interesting insight on that. Founders that have had to adapt because founders play such an important role in the organization and the organization culture. I can only imagine the work. You and I have never talked about this. I'd love to talk about that sometime. But in terms of actual impact that maybe even we can measure, and actually I'm glad that we're sending this one to Donnie because his platform is actually going to have the data to prove it, right? So Donnie, what are your thoughts on this topic? Actually, can we measure the impact of remote working?
I guess remote working or not remote working is a preferences. Not everyone cut out to the remote working. Not everyone cut out for non-remote working. So it's a preferences. It's a type of working cultures. There's no one way or the other that more, like better than the other, right? Because like you will be accountable, with the outcome. You don't micromanage, you communicate well, you write well, you read well. It's like remote or non-remote, you have to do it. But in a pragmatic way, like in the context of Happy Five, I guess if we didn't choose to do 100% remote, I guess my expenses will be gone high up. Why? Number one is the space. Renting in WeWork is very, very expensive. It's like 5.5 million per month per users. It's expensive. Number two is actually the team find that having a 100% remote is actually a perk. Like working in Happy Five, with 100% remote, it's a perk. It's not hybrid. It's not hybrid 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. No. 100% remote is actually a perk. So there you go. In a pragmatic way.
So just to recap there, the operational costs, of maintaining physical infrastructure, there's a cost reduction, and then in terms of access to key talent by offering perks that appeal to future employees and existing employees, there's a retention benefit there. There's being able to access top talent, and the multiplier effect of that, fantastic. Delta, do you want to add? Do you see any other benefits that are measurable?
If probably if we didn't go remotely in 2020, one of the things aside from what Donnie mentioned about personal costs, about the perks being remote, being a value proposition as an employer itself, the third is actually We didn't exactly measure this in terms of output of the companies because we ourselves grew a lot during that pandemic. So it might be influenced by remote as well as the market itself. But one thing that if we didn't do remote or start to do remote in 2020, I don't think our team will be we can grow to this size, to be this optimal size, and to be scattered, distributed around Indonesia like what we are now. Before pandemic, we are primarily in Jogja, in Jakarta. Currently, also we are still like that in Jogja and Jakarta. But beyond that, we actually have a lot of other cities where the talents apparently is amazing in that cities. But if we didn't have remote perks like what Donny mentions, I don't think we are able to meet or track or being able to even optimally works with these talents. We are talking about, for example, a city like Malang. Like I think number 3 or number 4 in the list of cities that we have is Malang. We have about 5 to 8 people there. Which, for example, if we are working just in Jogja, I don't think the Malang people would like to, travel to Jogja just for working, for example. So we managed, and we are actually considering to have more people in Malang because now, the university in Malang especially produce very great talents. We should, for example, if we need more people, more engineering talents, we should, for example, expand in Malang. Also, we like all the way to like Sumatra kind of island. I think number 5 or number 6 is in Palembang, for example. So we have about 4 or 5 people there. It's like, there's no way we were thinking about, okay, let's have Kiskas in Palembang, for example. So this is what happened, I think. What I consider to be a benefits of deciding or decided to actually move remotely, like being able to access the talents beyond the primary cities that we have.
Absolutely, and that affects company performance, and that's measurable.
Yeah,
so guys,
exactly.
I want to sort of wrap things up because we've been blessed to have your time, and I really appreciate it a lot from me and my team. In the notes there, guys, in Zoom, for those of you on Zoom, is the LinkedIn profiles of our panelists today. Reach out. And particularly with Alex, if you're looking for support, reach out to her. I want to say a big thanks to my team as well for putting this together. I don't normally do the moderating, but I do enjoy moderating. So thanks, guys, for letting me do a bit of moderating. I hope that we can do some more events. This is a great topic. Astronaut, we've had our story as well, and that has a lot of the flavors of what you see with KISS and Happy 5, the flexibility, the benefits. We are expanding across Southeast Asia and further afield, and without a culture of remote working, we couldn't do that. I'd say one of the other benefits is we've been able to achieve a lot with a reasonably small team as well. Thanks so much for everyone coming together today. Thanks to our panelists. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Donny. Thanks, Delta, for sharing your insights and your expertise. There's a lot of experience here, guys. I know what it's like to be a founder. They put a lot of thought in. Alex working with founders, a lot of deep thought and passion into creating their organizations and the organizations they work for. So it's a great place to work. So this is a topic that people are passionate about, and that's it. So that's it from me, and handing back to Nadila.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Delta and Donny. Thank you for sharing your time with us. So it's really an interesting discussion, and I hope everybody has a new insight in terms of the remote working culture and how to implement it correctly to their companies. So I've shared with you the link to the panelists here. So if you want to get connected with them, please do visit their LinkedIn. And also Alex just now shared with me, and I shared with you also on the chat here. If you want to understand the actual data around remote work, she also has the reports in owllabs.com there. So please do look up for it. And I also have shared with you again, just to remind you, if you are interested to understand more about Astronaut, I'm here as the BD representative. It's free for all the time. for you to discuss with me. So don't hesitate to contact me on my WhatsApp number or on my email here, or you can just directly book my time in the HubSpot link over there. I also already shared the detail in the webinar chat. So yeah, I guess that's all that I can say as of now. I'm really excited to have everyone here, and hopefully I can see you again in our next event.